tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Up and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In our heart and the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Amadaya production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In our heart and the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In our heart and the struggle, we dare.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Amadaya Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Amadaya Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let me tell you all something. Hold on, I'll get to it in just a second. Before I do, let's see who is all in here. Okay, Nessa G, Claudette, Dangerous, DJ Big Six, Reggie. All right, let's get into it. Nessie X, Nessa G. All right, Alice is here. DJ Big Six, Soul Sister, Queen Amoni Huey. Albie Chill is here. All right, Terry Hidden, I see you. All right, Leno Rex is here. Poetical Wins. All right, so shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators, because y'all know they're putting in work. Hold on, you all. Let me just check on something real quick before I run my big mouth. Hold on, because I want to tell y'all something. But hold on, I got to make sure I can tell y'all first. Let me put on some smooth jazz sounds. Hold on.
Lights shining down in the moonlight, girl, can't help but feel this connection flow with every move. Go along the floor where you smile. Makes me want more. Heartbeat and sing. At the sound of soul, tonight we dance. Just lose control. I can't resist the way you move. It's doing this. You'll always be This night is ours, wrapped in our love. The band is playing, our melody sweet, can't help but feel the rhythm in my feet, even my feet. Like the rest is.
Okay. All right. So you all, let me tell you all something. Hold on. Hold on. I'm looking for something real quick. Okay, here I go. Okay, so listen. Is this it right here? Okay, I'm looking for this video where I think this must be it. Black Panther chairman and ICE legacy or misrepresentation. Okay, so I think I found the video, but listen, let me just tell you all something. You all are going to learn to listen to the queen when I tell you all something. Okay, we have a whole lot of naysayers when I told you all that Mr. Paul Birdsong was a fake and a fraud. Okay, I could tell from a mile away. So with that all been said, let me tell you all what happened. Now, actually, someone told me this a couple of days ago. I didn't get all of the details until this morning. Now, I was just calling the person to make sure if I can tell you all the information and tell you all who said it. And they said, of course. So I just wanted to clarify that. I figured that was okay with them, but I just wanted to make sure. So that all being said, when I was telling you all the other day, the last video that I did about Mr. Birdsong, where I read to you the articles where he was saying all these different things and how he changed the name of the organization a time or two. And I knew that one of those names sounded very familiar to me. It was the United Empires of Alkebulan. I kept saying, where have I heard that before? Why does it sound so familiar? And then it hit me. Do you all remember when I had my friend Tina Berry on here? She's been on here a couple of times, a few times. But do you all remember when I had her on here maybe, about 3 or 4 years ago? And we were talking about this micro community that she was trying to build. Do y'all remember? And she said she wanted me and Michi X to do like the paperwork for it and whatnot. And with that all being said, that was the name of it. That was the name of their organization for that community, the United Empires of Alkebulan. You see, Mr. Paul Birdsong happened to conveniently bump into them when they were in California. Don't y'all find that suspicious? Don't y'all find that suspicious? Huh? Now, I find that very interesting. I find that very interesting. So you mean to tell me an organization that I was a part of, sat in meetings with, this man sat in meetings too? So basically, it looks like he was trying to infiltrate them because Tina also told me that he was on some BS that they weren't down with. And part of it is some of the stuff that he's saying now, talking about, defending illegal immigrants and other people and this, that, and the third, and, catering to them. That was not what they were trying to do. She just texted me this video that they did. Hold on. She just texted me this video that they did denouncing him. So I find it all very interesting. Hold on, let me send this to my email. Let me send this to my email. So he basically goes around trying to infiltrate other organizations and steal from them. Okay, she said start in about 10 minutes. I'm about to play this in just a second. First, I'm going to play his video. of what he's now saying since he's been denounced. Because if you remember, when he first came out, he was saying that some of the elder Black Panthers had given him permission to do what he was doing and that they were standing behind him with this. Well, now one of those elder Panthers that he mentioned by the name of Dixon came out and denounced him, and so now he's coming out and speaking on him being denounced, and he's changed the name of their group. So without any further ado, I'm going to let you all hear this. I'll get into some more of what Miss Tina Berry, Straight No Chaser with the Queen, what she told me further about him. But I just want y'all to pay attention that, when I tell y'all these people are agents, infiltrators, that these people are to be, we're to be suspicious of these people and not believe whatever they say just coming out of the gate because it sounds good. Okay, y'all need to listen. All right? Y'all need to listen.
All power to the people. As everyone knows, I'm Paul Birdsong. I got a message from Aaron Dixon today saying that he no longer supports us. That after he gave me orders to make a video saying that him and other members were coming, that he withdrew his support. That he said that this situation is unimportant to him, even though my comrades have risked their lives and spent thousands of hours of their time and dollars in life standing behind a cause. He said he's going to make a statement saying no one has the right to call himself a Black Panther going forward. I told him to make sure that he put in that statement that he did in fact give us the right to call ourselves that, because I still have the messages where he did, just in case he doesn't. And I put in there also, make sure that you put in there that Emory Douglas did give us the right to wear that emblem, because I still have the messages where that happened too. But as it stands, because of that, because of me and my comrades risking our lives and all the heat that we went under, because of the counter-revolutionary practices, because we don't believe in Black nationalism, like Bobby Seale said in the video that I shared on my page earlier, that Black nationalism is acquiesce to racism, and that we don't stand like that we're internationalists and intercommunalists, just like Huey Newton said. We will no longer identify with this flag. We will no longer identify ourselves as the Black Panther Party for self-defense. We're going to take OG from the town's advice. We're going to take the name that he decided to put out there. We're going to call ourselves the Black Lion Party for International Solidarity. Reason for the international solidarity is because we will stand with the immigrants, people being terrorized for ICE. We will stand with any oppressed people across the world. We will keep feeding every single day, keep offering food every single day. We will keep patrolling the community with guns. We will keep stopping drug dealers, keep stopping sex traffickers. We will keep stopping police brutality. This little plaque that I got, it says Paul Birdsong, and as a Panther, it says since 2020. I don't regret the work that I've done because it's brought me to this point. But going forward, these Panther patches will no longer be on my uniform. Me and my comrades stand independent. We are willing to work with any organization that stands for the rights of every living person. Any organization that stands against imperialism, attacking immigrants. Now, if you're out here raping people and killing people and selling drugs and different stuff like that, yeah, deport them. But those people out there that are just working hard, trying to provide for their families, trying to escape the guerrilla warfare and the cartel warfare that's happening in their countries to come for that promise of the American dream that the United States of America Incorporated lies about, we feel that they shouldn't be bothered, and we're willing to stand beside them to ensure that they're not. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Oh, January 31st, you can still come out. We're willing to sit down and talk about solidarity, sit down to talk about unification, sit down to talk about continuing to work, because ain't nothing stopping this way. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Well, I guess he told us. Honey. Did y'all hear it? Did y'all? The Black Lion Party. How ironic is that, since all he was doing was telling a bunch of lies from day one? Okay? Now he's calling himself the Lion Party? That couldn't have been more suitable. Okay? Couldn't have been more suitable. And then the way he just tossed the little patches down there, like, forget y'all, I don't have to be a part of it. Well, sir, that's what you should have done in the first place. You see, he should never have come out using the Black Panther Party name and logo. He should have started his own from the beginning. That's all any of them need to do. Okay, you cannot imitate them. All right, so just do your own thing, especially when you're straying away from the message. And then here's the thing. He's saying that they're not Black nationalists. Well, nobody said, none of the other Panther organizations have said that they were nationalists. They've not said that. Just because they only want to defend Black people, that does not mean that they're Black nationalists, okay? At the end of the day, sir. He's trying to paint narratives. That's all. This whole thing was for a clout chase. Okay, because I'm not going to get into the whole conversation that me and Straight No Chaser with the Queen had, but basically he got in with them and was trying to take over, just trying to hijack their whole message and their whole organization, trying to make it what he wanted it to be. They were not with the plan, and so they backed away from him. And once they backed away from him, then he took their name and their logo and went and started his own thing. That's what he did. And started calling himself the chairman. Nobody gave him that title. He gave it to himself. And then basically just tried to hijack their movement. And also, here's what got her attention. When I did the video on him, the last one that I did, when I was reading the articles where he was interviewed, she said those were her words that he was quoting. Yeah, the words that he was saying, those were her words that she said in meetings. So he was taking their mission and their message and just twisting it and putting his own spin on it and putting his name on it. That's what he was doing, a whole fraud and a clout chaser to boot. That's what he is, and it was easy for me to see. Okay, that's why we have to start looking at people with our first eye. Some call it the third eye. I'll call it the first eye at the end of the day, and stop taking everything that people say on the internet, like I said, because it sounds revolutionary or sounds like they mean business or like they're about to stand 10 toes down. Oh, okay, we have to question these folks. He's out here going around what he's doing, and it seems to me that what he's doing is going from one place to another and stealing little gems from each different group and putting it all together for himself to come up with something and act like he's really about to be a whole revolutionary. And another question is, how's he moving to all these different places? Because he was in Philly. My friend Straight No Chase with the Queen, they met him in California. Let's not forget that a guy said days ago that they ran him up out of California for trying to infiltrate Peru. Then he goes down to Michigan and tries to start his own Peru. Then from Michigan, you're to Philly. Where is he going to all these different places? And then you're down here, you're a rapper, and then you're down here and you're starting a gang. And you're on the news talking tough to the police about what the gang's going to do if the police run up on them. Now you've turned into a whole revolutionary, and now you're talking tough to federal agents, i.e. ICE, and telling them what you're going to do if they run up on you. Y'all hear this? And y'all thought a bit of it made sense? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But let's continue. Ooh, I absolutely can't. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Now let's go to Tina Berry's video where they denounced him as well. I mean, he's just getting denounced all over the place, it seems. She said it's like in the first 10 minutes. Edward said he sounds like a George Soros puppet. Okay, something definitely is sketchy. Okay, let's start right here.
Oh man, they're loving it right now. Cause see, we don't even know if he linked in with Antifa allegedly. Cause like, they what they do, they infiltrate other groups and stuff. And I said, we don't know anything about this guy. And we know he's not FBA, it seems. And now he's talking about, I see some of the videos. I'm like, this guy talking about, taking down ICE and, them federal agents. Federal agents. Yeah, them federal agents.
This is why we're denouncing it, because that's a RICO charge. He's setting up Black Panthers all over what? what happened, because when they get your logos and get it, and then they wear it and say, now you Rico. He put all Black Panthers in danger with that. And this is why I'm gonna read this denouncement. And this comes from a couple of groups. A lot of people are still a lot of the groups are still going over the letter, but this is just formally from us.
Now, I want you all to pay attention. That's exactly what he was trying to do. Okay, coming out there making threats to federal agents under the name and logo of the Black Panther Party. He absolutely could have gotten them all on some charges. Okay, gotten them all caught up on some charges, thanks to his mouth. And he knew what he was doing, I'm pretty sure. Let's continue.
One moment. Let me get it. Hold on. I'm thinking I'm under there.
Yeah, why you in that? Your buddy, he's a op, y'all. And I don't know what this. I mean, anybody with common sense, everybody I see, they did not
helping the Black community. The thing is, he's been out there helping the Black community, but this is what we mean by tethers and stuff. He's talking about fighting against ICE. That's not our fight. That has nothing to do with Black community. ICE is getting a lot of these out our community. It's a contradiction against mothers against drugs and guns. How are all these guns in our children's hands when Black people barely have anything? How come every Black teen could get their hand on drugs and guns, but not business loans and opportunities? And it's a contradiction. And this is what we mean by immigrants don't understand our plight, our fight, and our struggle. But this is a joint statement of the UEOA and people who have been representing us. We, as a UEOA, condemn the reckless and unauthorized actions. The undersigned collective of Black organizations, UEOA and FBA, stand in unison to condemn the reckless, dangerous, and unsanctioned statements and actions of Paul Birdsong and his Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Black chapter, Black Party Panther for Defense. We expressively denounce any attempt to drag, coerce the greater Black community and fellow Black power formations into military conflict or adversarial engagement on behalf of or in defense of non-Black people. Such actions are undertaken without our consent, without our mandate, and directly contradict of the principles and collective of self-determination and community-focused solidarity. These unauthorized initiatives do not represent our values or strategies or agreed upon direction as our people of UEOA. Our stance is the priority of building up Black America. Our focus is unwavering and clear: the building, protection, and empowerment of Black Americans, FBA. While we recognize injustice wherever it does exist, our primary energy, resources, and advocacy must be directed towards solving the profound and persistent crisis within our own communities. We cannot be diverted from this urgent mission. Black America continues to face existential threats stemming from systemic racism, economic violence, and internal community destruction. Our people are in a state of emergency that demands our full, undivided attention. Our commitment in addressing the real crisis in our community. We stand for tangible actions and healing at home. We are committed to the fight against gun violence, tearing our families apart, the lack of quality education and resources for our youth, homelessness and housing insecurity, generational poverty and economic disenfranchisement, food shortages and nutritional deserts, disproportionate health disparities, the destruction of Black life through mass incarceration and police brutality. This is our battlefield. This is where our defense is needed. Our self-defense is the defense of our communities from these daily systemic attacks. It is the defense of our future through building institutions, creating wealth, securing health, and fostering peace. We call on all those who genuinely care for Black liberation to reject this unauthorized provocation and redirect that energy towards the concrete, life-affirming work of building, healing, and empowering Black America.
Okay. And like she said, our power is in our unity. Absolutely. And very well said. Now, Danielle said, Queen, thank you. And thanks to all of the other Black commentators for putting out this important information about people like this, like this fake so-called revolutionary. Exactly. And you're very welcome, beloved. I will always call out the fakes and the frauds because who do they think we are? Okay, now with that all being said, let's move on to the next point of discussion, which is the death of Mr. Alex Peretti. Okay, because I find it interesting that Cash Patel had so much to say when he was singing a whole different tune when the story was about Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, a whole different story. Let's get into it. Lights up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Secretary Noem said, no one who wants to be peaceful shows up at a protest with a firearm that is loaded with 2 full magazines.
But how was he threatening Border Patrol? You've collected the evidence, you said, right? You have the handgun in your possession?
That's right.
And how was he using that handgun in terms of threatening Border Patrol? What was the threat? He had his camera, right? He was filming it.
That's something that I will let the DHS and the prosecutors, because they are the ones investigating that case. I don't want to stylize that evidence.
Kristi Noem said that the individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Was the gun visible, or did Border Patrol see the gun after they shot him?
Again, all those pieces of the investigation are being led by DHS and HSI, and I don't want to comment on their ongoing investigation.
Yeah, I bet you don't. I bet you don't. He don't want to comment because he already knows that the answer to those questions are not going to look good for him, okay, and the White House, because they absolutely had that man's gun already in their possession prior to shooting him. So why was he shot? Okay, they can't explain that, but let's go to another clip of this same discussion. Here we go.
What can you tell us?
Great to be with you, Maria. And look, Secretary Noem stated it perfectly. You do not get to attack law enforcement officials in this country without any repercussions. You do not get to do that in Minnesota, LA, or anywhere else. And the interagency is leading the charge out there. We've already arrested with the interagency those that violated the FACE Act and impeded a peaceful prayer in church. We've already just last night arrested 4 more individuals involved in the damage of government property that we saw the videos of online. We've arrested other individuals who've made threats to law enforcement online. So we are not messing around. It doesn't have to be in person. If you threaten law enforcement officials or civilians, we are going to come find you. And as for this latest shooting, yes, DHS and HSI are the lead, and the FBI is processing the physical evidence. So we're in possession of the firearm, which is going to go to our laboratory. But as Secretary Noem said, no one who wants to be peaceful shows up at a protest with a firearm that is loaded with 2 full magazines. That is not a peaceful protest, and you do not get to touch law enforcement. You do that anywhere, this FBI is going to be leading the charge to arrest those.
But how was he threatening Border Patrol? You've collected the evidence, you said, right? You have the handgun in your possession?
That's right.
And how was he using that handgun in terms of threatening Border Patrol? What was the threat? He had his camera, right? He was filming it.
That's something that I will let the DHS and the prosecutors, because they are the ones investigating that case. I don't want to stylize that evidence, but I trust the men and women on the ground who are trained professionals to only use it when it's absolutely necessary. And I trust Secretary Noem's leadership and DHS.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't trust them. And neither should any of you. And here's why. Now, that picture of the gun, that's a Google picture. That is not even the real gun. Let's go to the footage. Okay? I find it all so interesting. It is nothing more than a stock photo Okay, why are they showing us AI generated photos when they arrested the BLM activist the other day and now showing us a stock photo of a gun?
So DHS posted a photo of a gun. We know that. You guys want to see something that other creators have found out? Yeah, it's not the real gun. They just Google imaged a photo. The photo's fake. It's just a common image. That's not even the gun that was used or owned by Alex. They can't even post real stuff. They just made up lies and posted a basic Google image of what they said they thought the weapon was. People that are still believing this administration, when time and time again, we prove them wrong and we prove that they are doing stuff like this, just pulling it right off of the internet. They're not even posting real photos. Why do you still believe them at this point? The photo was a basic photo. 5 days ago, that same picture was used on Reddit. 5 days ago. But that's the photo they pulled off of Alex. That's the weapon they pulled off of Alex. Yeah, okay.
What a darn shame. Okay? What is wrong with these people? This is their administration. All right? This is their administration. With that all being said, let's go to these two different images or two different clips of Cash Patel. What he's saying about Alex Petti and him having a weapon, and Kyle Rittenhouse back in 2021. And yes, I said Rittenhouse.
You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence. We're raising money. If you have a case, we will review it for free, and we will cut the check to the lawyer to file your defamation case and get your day in court. If Kyle Rittenhouse's team is listening, or your audience is tweeting, this is what Fight with Cash is for. We will help Kyle Rittenhouse's defamation cases. We will pay for them by raising money so he can clear his name. You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want.
So he was sitting there defending Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay? Y'all hear that? I mean, the narratives that they paint is absolutely amazing. But let's continue. Now, mind you, they're talking about Bovino is going to be heading, or he's going to be leaving Minneapolis. Now let's go to this clip where they talk about Ice Barbie and alleged lovers. What? Ice Barbie and alleged lovers emergency. I don't know what they're talking about. Hold on, let's just go to this. I'm curious. Something about an alleged lover and Ice Barbie. Let's get into it. Yeah, it is hypocrisy. Okay? Since you prophetic bastards that Trump is almost impeached.
As videos are contradicting the more on the backlash after the fatal shooting of Alex Pretti by immigration agents in Minneapolis, as videos are contradicting the account that is coming from the federal government tonight. There's mourners that are paying respects to the ICU nurse on the ground in Minneapolis, as there's growing criticism coming from inside the Department of Homeland Security, where multiple DHS officials tell my colleague CNN's Priscilla Alvarez they're furious with how the agency and Secretary Kristi Noem is handling the shooting. Some of those sentiments have been fueled by what we heard from Secretary Noem earlier in a swift defense of the federal officers involved, and also her claims about Pretti himself. Priscilla joins me now. And Priscilla, what are you hearing exactly from these officials? What did they make of what they're hearing from Secretary Noem?
Well, Caitlin, as they've had more time to absorb the videos that have been circulating on social media and that the American public has also been looking at and dissecting, they have grown more frustrated and more concerned, not only about the shooting incident, but also the public response by the Department of Homeland Security. These are officials who are keenly aware that they risk even more reputational harm, which affects them in their operations and could also have long-term consequences that they are going to have to wrestle with in the years to come. Now, of course, this is all stemmed really from what they've seen online and what they've heard from the Trump administration. And in my conversations, they simply can't square, just as many other people who've observed this can't, what happened in that shooting incident and what the Department of Homeland Security Secretary has been saying. As you mentioned, Caitlin, she swiftly defended the agent yesterday and this morning did much of the same. Take a listen.
He came to that scene and impeded a law enforcement operation, which is against federal law. It's a felony. When he did that, interacting with those agents, when they tried to get him to disengage, he became aggressive and resisted them.
She's acting like that man turned into the Incredible Hulk. Said he became aggressive. Okay. He became aggressive. And then the whole time showing that fake picture of the gun. Wow. Something else.
Now, she's also said that the intent here was to massacre law enforcement, that he was brandishing a weapon. And in the videos that have been made public, none of that appears to be true. And that is what Homeland Security officials are wrestling with. And their concern is that ultimately the secretary is doing a disservice to the department. In fact, one Homeland Security official told me the following, quote, "The department needs a law enforcement leader, not a sycophant." In addition to that, I've heard that some Border Patrol agents who are on the ground in Minneapolis are starting to become unconvinced that this is a productive use of time, and that is doing operations there, given the tenuous situations that they are finding themselves in. So certainly, Caitlin, there are fractures within the Department of Homeland Security over this incident.
Okay, so seriously, getting the backlash they deserve. Now, here's another one where they say, this is from CBS, Noam expected to keep her job but faces scrutiny after the Alex Peretti shooting, according to sources. And then there's another one from an hour ago saying that she may be in trouble. Well, she should be. The whole administration should be, if you ask me.
Now from the White House. Good morning, Aaron. Let's get more into this new information from this morning. CBS News learning Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem facing internal scrutiny after Saturday's shooting. Tell us about that.
Ariel, good morning. CBS News has learned that despite the internal and external criticism, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is expected to keep her job as of now. Now, externally, she had faced some criticism from congressional Republicans who believe that she prematurely labeled Pretti as someone who was there to attack immigration officials. But we've also learned that she faced questions inside the White House when she was here yesterday, facing questions about her handling of the shooting. And we know that she is now going to focus instead on the southern border instead of interior enforcement operations. Noem staying put in her role as DHS secretary comes after the Border Patrol Commander Bovino was demoted. And sources have also said to CBS News that Bovino's aggressive tactics in immigration enforcement from city to city has also caused internal rifts at the Department of Homeland Security out of concerns that his actions was undermining the public support for President Trump's larger immigration and deportation campaign. But it seems that as of now, Kristi Noem is expected to keep her role as the Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
And so, Aaron, Noem oversees DHS, Bovino, who you just mentioned, being demoted, but effectively being replaced by the president's border czar, Tom Homan. You've got several officials here who are leading this immigration crackdown. So who really is in charge? Is it the buck stopping with President Trump, or who is executing his strategy?
The buck, I would say, does start with President Trump. And we've learned that Tom Homan, the border czar, will be the point of contact, the main public-facing person working with immigration officials in Minneapolis. But President Trump has said that Homan will report directly to him. Sources have said that Homan does have a frosty working relationship with Noem, and they do have differences in their overall immigration kind of approach. Homan has talked publicly more so about targeting criminals who are in the country illegally, while Noem has taken a more sweeping, broad targeting any undocumented migrants that immigration officials are coming across in the city. But the White House is also anticipating stating that Homan, who did serve as a senior DHS advisor during President Obama's last year in office, will be able to work more collaboratively with Democratic officials in Minnesota, as you've seen that tone shift from President Trump, suggesting after calls with the governor there, as well as Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, that they are now on the same.
Okay, so they're supposed to be on the same page. We'll see about all of that. Meanwhile, they report that the Trump administration faces pushback, okay, in the aftermath. Okay, so let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
A live look at the White House. The sun is up in Washington, D.C., and President Donald Trump facing a rare and growing backlash from members of his own party over his immigration crackdown.
So some big name Republicans, including Governor Greg Abbott, are saying the administration needs to, quote, recalibrate how it's handling immigration enforcement.
Yeah, part of that sharp pushback comes after the federal officers killed Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, during an immigration operation in Minneapolis. Big questions now about whether the administration rushed to judgment in the aftermath. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is following all of this for us. And Rachel, you don't often see this level of Republican pushback. What's the latest this morning?
Yeah, Mark, you're right about that. We don't really see Republicans coming out in this way, being critical of how the administration is handling all of this. But we have kept a long track of this. And right now, there are at least 30 Republicans who have come out demanding a full investigation. Republican Congressman Mike Lawler is out with a new op-ed this morning saying that Americans do not want chaos and that it's time for the White House to really reassess their strategy here. I'm also told by sources that the president has been fielding calls from Republicans over on Capitol Hill that are very concerned that this cornerstone issue of immigration that the president ran on, that Republicans ran on last election, is now getting muddied in the response and the aftermath to the shooting by so many of top administration officials rushing to judgment here. We saw the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem label it an act of domestic terrorism before an investigation was even completed. Another top advisor, Stephen Miller, declared Alex Pretti as a domestic terrorist, calling him an assassin. It was very notable in the White House press briefing room just yesterday that the press secretary did a lot of work to really distance the president from the words of his top advisors, even saying that she has not heard the president describe Alex Pretti as a domestic terrorist or even an assassin. Even the calls the president had with top officials over in Minnesota, from the governor to the mayor, have been very productive, even though he's been very critical of them. So definitely a change in tone.
Well, and you kind of touched on it, but a lot of this has to do with optics. So Governor Abbott among those urging the president to recalibrate. What is he, other GOP leaders like we see here, our Texas Senator Ted Cruz, what are they worried about when it comes to how the crackdown is playing out visually?
Yeah, Kara. And look, they are worried about what Americans are seeing with their own eyes, and especially how this is going to play heading into a very critical midterm election year. I'm going to be traveling with the president in just a few hours to Iowa, where the message is going to be on the economy and affordability. Republican sources that I've been talking to are worried that all of that is getting lost when so much of the conversation is on what is happening down in Minnesota and whether or not the administration is committed to a full investigation. And that is what we are hearing a lot of Republicans, including the Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who is traditionally on the side of this administration and this president, come out and demand, guys.
Okay, this is all just so crazy. And at the end of the day, above all that drama said, a nurse as an assassin, that is BS. Of course it is. I mean, are we supposed to think this man was an ICU nurse for the VA by day and then some trained assassin at night who goes to disrupt protests and take out federal agents? This is really the stuff that they say. Okay, it is so ridiculous. At the end of the day, so ridiculous. With that all being said, also, I just thought about something. Above all that drama, I'm talking to you. Do not, any of the moderators, time anybody out, okay, unless they do something that is one of the 4 things that I told you all that is problematic, okay? Do not time anybody out because they said something that you don't like or you disagree with, okay? That's called being petty. The only person who gets to be petty on this channel is me, all right? Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, and even I don't get petty enough to put people out of here just for saying something that is not in alignment with whatever I'm saying, unless you're disrespectful. All right? No, don't tell me it won't happen again. It shouldn't have happened at all because I have told you all a myriad of times, okay, about doing stuff like that. And I'm thinking about taking your wrench for 24 hours to teach you a lesson. Now, let me continue. I'll think about it and decide what I'm going to do after this broadcast. But right now, listen, the Minneapolis police chief has concerns about losing control of the city. Okay, so let's get into it. Because ICE doesn't even have any respect for law enforcement. Okay, now let's not forget how days ago they reported that some of the officers, when they're off duty, have actually been harassed and detained by ICE.
Coverage on this for you this morning. CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro is following developments out of the Trump administration. But let's begin with CBS News chief correspondent Matt Gutman, who is there on the ground in Minneapolis next to the memorial we saw just moments ago. Matt, good morning. What are you seeing there as reaction to all of this?
The reaction has been anger, but there is a sense that something has shifted here because Greg Bovino has been the very public face of the federal immigration crackdown nationwide. Errol, he's been front and center in the face-offs that we've seen between protesters and federal officials. He is now relieved of his command. We are told he will be imminently leaving Minneapolis, being sent back to the border area between Mexico and California. And all of this signals a very significant shift from the White House and its Minnesota policy.
Overnight, protesters gathered outside the Minneapolis hotel. They suspected Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino and other immigration agents are staying. They used noise to make a point, facing off with Minneapolis police guarding the hotel. It comes as Bovino, who's been at the center of the immigration enforcement crackdowns and protests, along with some of the 800 Customs and Border Protection agents here, are packing up, leaving the Twin Cities after Saturday's deadly shooting of Alex Pretti in the streets of Minneapolis. On Saturday, Bovino was quick to say that Pretti had approached officers with a gun, despite numerous videos and eyewitness accounts contradicting those claims.
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
Now, President Trump appears to be distancing himself from those characterizations and sending in border czar Tom Homan to coordinate between local and federal authorities. The change comes after Trump said he had a, quote, very good call with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The president also spoke with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey Monday about de-escalation. Frey said while some federal agents are leaving today, his office will continue pushing for the rest involved in this operation to go.
When you got the call, you said to me that you had this visceral reaction.
Yeah.
You're shaking.
I got a page that there had been a shooting and that they were doing CPR. And I just absolutely couldn't believe it. Like, I thought for sure we were going to completely lose control of the city.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara told us video of the killing shows questionable tactics.
It doesn't look safe for anyone involved.
From what you saw in that video, was he brandishing a gun and did he appear to be a domestic terrorist?
There's nothing in any of the evidence to suggest that. These things are concerning because we know people have a First Amendment right to record the police. You also have a Second Amendment right in this country to carry a handgun in a public space. That's also what this person did. So these are literally constitutional rights that people have in this country.
And Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said of his call with President Trump that they both agreed that the present situation cannot continue. Frey will later on today meet with border czar Tom Homan. And Errol, I just want you to get a sense of this growing memorial. We watched as people came and laid wreath after wreath. Here you can see all of these posters. It's a testament to the anger and the uproar in this city over what's happened here over the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, and just to think, this time last week, Alex Pretti was alive, presumably working as an ICU nurse. The police chief has been vocal about emphasizing that residents there have constitutional rights. You mentioned, the First and Second Amendment. What else did he share with you?
It's really interesting because he said that what we've seen here in Minneapolis, the federal crackdown over the past 3 weeks, 3 shootings in 3 weeks, 2 deaths, is not just bad for Minneapolis and its citizens and makes things much harder for the police department here, which has, other crime to deal with as well. But it's also bad for the federal government. Let's take a listen.
They know this is damaging to the reputations of their agencies. They know this is damaging to the culture in these agencies, and this is creating problems that will take years and years to fix.
And so the question is there going to be a difference now? Will people stop coming out? We are waiting to see what the next step in the White House policy will be here. But again, he is very concerned that this is not yet over. So much to be waited and seen here in Minneapolis, Errol.
Yeah, Matt Gutman, we appreciate.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, you can absolutely have a gun at a protest. Kyle Rittenhouse had a gun at a protest, okay? But Kash Patel says you can't. Now, it seems to me that Trump's entire administration, like they all have their own interpretation of the Constitution. That's just what it seems like. Okay, like they all just have their own different and various interpretations of the Constitution, which is further proof that these people are not, absolutely are not competent for the positions of which they hold. Now, let's go to this last clip where a reporter asked Carolyn Levitt, and I told you all this last night, if Stephen Miller would in fact apologize to the family of Alex Pretti.
On Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Pretti committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Pretti a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Pretti in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On Stephen Miller's comments, will Stephen Miller be apologising to the family of Alex Pretti for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the president goes for the parents of angel families, and parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country. Why don't we go to the back? Kelly.
Does the president believe that the killing, though, was a mistake? Has he expressed that at all?
Again, the president has said, we have to review it, and this investigation needs to continue, and he's letting the facts of the investigation lead itself.
Body camera footage to be released to the public? Now,
that's not something I've heard the president commit to, so I won't do that from the podium. Sure.
Gaslighting. Just a whole lot of gaslighting is all we ever get from her, okay? At the end of the day, she's not going to answer anything directly because these questions, are some serious things. These are some serious questions. At the end of the day, they know that more likely than not, it's going to be ruled that ICE was out of pocket for what they did, okay? Okay, and this is why they want themselves to investigate it. They don't want the state getting involved. They want to do the whole thing themselves because them investigating themselves, we already know what that's going to amount to. Nothing more than a cover-up, in my opinion. Okay, now Queen Sam says, don't take their rich queen. They do a great job being your mods. You see that above all that drama? You see that? Above all that drama says she has the face of like Marmaduke. Anyway, with that all being said, okay, Queen Sam, I'll consider it. Okay. But above all, that drama is nefarious. Okay. Yes, he does a good job, but also nefarious at the same time. All right. So that all being said, I'm about to be out of here. Ethelene said, aren't they supposed to be up there gathering up Somalis to deport them? Why are all these Americans are taken to their demise? I can understand it if some of the Somalians. Well, these people are out there protesting, so it seems to me that ICE gets more irritated or agitated with people that are filming them or that they feel that is in their way, like impeding, their route or whatever. That's just what it seems like to me, beloved. I don't know, honey. But what I do know is that I wouldn't be out there. All right? I wouldn't be out there. Because if they're out there boldly just killing white folk in broad daylight, what do you think they'll be doing to somebody who looks like me? Okay, sorry. But with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I may come back later, especially if there's some breaking news. Okay, I'll be back later. If so, it'll probably be between 7 and 7:30. Okay, so anyway, enjoy the rest of this day. I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got